Hello, welcome back to Interview. I'm Mike Billiot. Today, my guest is Terrebonne Parish Councilman Kevin Wazam. Kevin, we were just talking about your representation. What district do you represent? Where is it located inside
Sure,
Terrebonne Parish?
District 6. It's roughly the 311 corridor. Unfortunately, in Terrebonne, our districts are very discombobulated. I would say, it's trying to satisfy the requirements of minority districts and then make some kind of useful shape out of what's left over. We really, in my opinion, need to push for more of a non-contiguous minority district in Terrebonne, where you have people who they share an interest, if not a geography, and then you could make geographic locations outside of that make more sense. My district is over 40 minutes long. It stretches from the Barrios subdivision all the way to northern Schriever. In fact, I have some of my constituents, because of their post office, their address is actually in Thibodaux, even though that they live in Schriever and live in Terrebonne Parish. So it's basically the 311 corridor where most of the houses are.
What are some of the concerns that you address with regard to your particular district and the people in those districts?
I think right now everything has shifted, so our main and only concern is the moratorium and the oil spill. While you still have day-to-day things, if you want to know what's on people's minds, that's it. But I'd say that our needs in District 6 are very similar to the rest. Drainage. I mean, drainage and flood protection are just huge. You can't underline how important those things are. As we've grown, our ability to drain water has not grown at the right pace. Infrastructure is a big need for us. Highway 311 is just not big enough. We need Valhai to extend all the way to Highway 90, which we've gotten in place, but it isn't built yet. We've got to make those things happen to relieve some of our infrastructure. As we've grown, if you look at the problems in District 6, it's the successful type problems. You want these kind of problems. Not enough drainage, not enough infrastructure. That means that we've grown rapidly and haven't been able to keep up. I think we have good plans in place to relieve those. I'm hopeful. I like the state project to 4-lane 311. We do have projects in place to extend Valhai from where it is all the way to Highway 90, and these are going to help. Also, though, and the third thing I ran on, recreation opportunities. I'm very proud to be involved with the project right now. We have areas that are used for catch basins, so they're big areas of woods that their whole purpose of being is to catch water in the event of big rain events, and then we can pump it out of there instead of the water pooling in neighborhoods. Well, we've come together, me and a group of people with the bike club, the running club. We're going to make a system of trails through these places. It's right over by the Valhai pump station. 7 miles of trails off-road, 7 miles of trails on-road. These will be accessible for bikes. These will be accessible for walkers, joggers, anything that's not motorized. And what's cool about it is it's dual use. While there's no flood, these are trails anybody can go on. When there is a flood, obviously it'll hold water and nobody's going to want to be on the trail. But I'm really excited to bring those types of opportunities. We have been recreationally starved in this area. Now, I think in part because, hey, if you have a boat, you got recreation opportunities, so many you don't know what to do with. But there's a large segment of our population who don't have boats or don't want to be out on boats all day. And this is a great way to showcase who we are here in Terrebonne Parish.
Now, a lot of times I'll see some people who are interested in personal fitness. They'll be running alongside the road. That can be dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. And I'm one of those people. I've run along the side of the road. I've been run over on my bike once on the side of the road here in Terrebonne Parish. And I would say that in doing this bike project, I've thought many times to the time that I was run over, and I'm happy to be able to give a place where, hey, this is a safe place only for bikes.
You've been in office a little over a year now, taking office, or about a year and a half, if you took office in January of 2009. Is it all that you thought it would be? Do you have the opportunities to make the change that you thought you would?
It's, the wheels move just a ton slower than you think. And in some ways that's very frustrating and wrong. And in other ways, it's very good. Winston Churchill famously said that democracy is the worst system of government there is, except for everything else. And I can see what he means, because it just moves really slow. Things move slow purposefully, because that way no one politician can go crazy and misspend a whole lot of dollars. So it's good that it goes kind of slow, so there's a lot of time for the public to give input. But sometimes you just need a road fixed. You don't want it to take 2 years to do it. I will say that when I walked in, I probably thought I could make 2 votes and change the universe. Now I realize that it's a long-term process. where it's the totality of a whole lot of votes that will change things incrementally. And so I've adjusted my expectations. Now, there are times when you can really just get in there and make a pivotal decision. Usually, though, those come from circumstance. You know, they come from the outside. There's a hurricane or there's something like that. As far as policy changes, you've just got to be slow and do what's right. Big, fast moves are bad for everybody. You know, they just really are, because people live in a place for a long time and they have a certain expectation. And even if we need to progress, we don't need to progress at light speed. We need to give people time to adjust. You know, for example, in drainage, for years and decades and more, we have just, our approach to drainage has been, hey, if I can get it off my yard, I've done good. I'm draining. Well, we've seen that the culmination of that means we're all just pushing water onto everybody else. And some of my friends in the north of the parish are drowning in the water now that we pump from some of my friends in the middle of the parish.
Right.
We're now coming to a new realization. Hey, we got to do something different. We need 25-year plans. We need drainage corridor plans, and we're changing. But you don't change overnight, because then otherwise nobody knows how to build. So it's a slow progression, but that ultimately gets us all to move forward and where we need to be.
What is your political affiliation, and does that mean that you always vote with that affiliation?
Yeah, I'm a Republican. You know, I told you this earlier, but the reason I'm a Republican is when I showed up to Louisiana, I'd always been registered independent. I showed up at to register here in Louisiana when I moved back from Utah, and said that, you know, I was independent, and the registrar of voters said, well, that means you won't be able to vote in any primaries. And after we explained it, I said, well, I guess I'd rather pick one side than the other. I'm much more Republican as far as my ideals than Democrat, but in the end, I'll vote the person and I'll vote the issue, not the party line. There's no party going to tell me what I need to vote for and then I just say yes. It's just not in my nature. So I'm Republican because being independent excluded me from primaries. But I will say that, you know, fundamentally I found that I align myself much more often with the Republican candidate. Not to say there weren't some great Democratic candidates. Not to say that I'll support what's right and who's right over what some party says is right any day.
Now, I think it's interesting that you originally associated as an independent. What does that say about you with regard to your political position on
Well,
states?
I think I want to do what's right. I want to do what feels right and what needs to be done, and not have, you know, I don't understand. Parties outside of the world of money, you know, if you're talking about fundraising, parties make a ton of sense. Once you leave the world of fundraising, I don't get what parties do. They're like this kind of clique that bully you into doing what they want because they have money. If you take money out of the party, I don't know that they'd exist for very long. It's like and I just, for me, you know, Arlonda Williams is our president. She's a Democrat. We work great together. I don't think there's twice we've ever even mentioned our party affiliation. Why? Because we're dealing with the problems of Terrebonne, and we're dealing with the problems of District 6 and the different districts of Terrebonne. And you know, at this level, the local level, the party affiliations will get in the way more than they help us to accomplish things.
You're in the legislative branch of government of Terrebonne Parish government. You also have a fellow Republican who sits in the executive branch, that's Michelle Claudet.
Sure.
In a moment, when we come back from the next break, we are going to talk about working with Michelle Claudet and the rest of the council members on the Terrebonne Parish Council. We'll be right back with an interview with Mike Billiot. Don't go anywhere.